Welcome back, Crypto Trend Trader here. Just want to do a quick update on Bitcoin after we've gotten some crazy volatility. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. So basically, we just got that weekly close. Prior to that, we got a big move up here. You see, essentially, we were riding that parabolic SAR up, and we had come down and tested it, and it lined up perfectly with the 200. And when we broke down from the 200 simple up here, we came down, we found support at the 200 EMA. And then found support, shot back up, and where do we stop at? We came all the way right back up. We broke support, found support here, came back up, test the old support as resistance, and now we broke back down. So now here we are. There's no more room left from the parabolic SAR. We just tried to bounce up. We came exactly back down to where we bounced up from. So that tells me that the likelihood that we're going to break through this green right here and start a downtrend on the SAR is extremely likely at this point in time. Because I don't think we're going to come back down to the same spot and then bounce back up and all of a sudden break through. So let's zoom out here a little bit, and you'll see this positive parabolic SAR trend that we were up in. This was the longest positive trend we've been in for a while. So if we do break this right now, which I think is a very high likelihood, if we do break this right now, we can expect a big dump from here, I think. At least to come down and test one of these lower supports. But we'll see. We'll see how that plays out shortly, because again, that does line up perfectly with the 200. But I don't see any reason we would lose the 200 up here, come down to a lower level, find support, come back up, get rejected, come back down, get rejected, and then go back up. I think it's more likely now that both have gotten rejected. We're ping-ponging between the 200s. I don't know that this is just going to hold right away. If it would have immediately got rejected previously, maybe. But the fact that we just held out there said to the market that there wasn't really a ton of buying interest. And then only when we broke out of on smaller time frames, let me zoom here a little bit. I think only when we really broke out of like the little triangle consolidation that we were forming right here below the 200, I think when we start getting that move above here, we broke that SAR and we got the move up. I think that's the only reason we even got the punch up like that. I think it was like a FOMO move. And we essentially, all we did was, look, we had broke down from this moving average. Oh, and again, if you want any of these indicators, they're all free on TradingView. This one's the TJD PSAR with B pivots. You got TJD Jewel Thief down here and TJD TD MACD. But basically what happened is we were just essentially finding support. Finally the support broke, came down. We're hanging out down here. This was our resistance now. Broke through the resistance, came back up, tested the old support, found it as resistance now, got rejected, came back down, and now we're testing our old support down here. You know, we essentially had like a parallel support right there, and now we're about to test it. And, you know, you can see it lines up again with some of our Fibonacci's. We came exactly back up off that bounce to the 382, got rejected at the 382, and again, you know, people talk trash a lot about fib circles, but I mean, look, this fib circle goes to the absolute bottom down here from that swing position, and now look, as soon as we broke through the fib circle right here, we come back over, we came exactly back up and tested the fib circle and the 382. So that's why people use these different things, is because a lot of times you'll see confluence between these points. So we basically couldn't get the close above it. We got rejected and sent back down, and now here we are retesting the bottom of the range. And, you know, at this point in time, I think there's a high likelihood it breaks. I think that was basically the market saying, you know, we're going to come up here, we're going to essentially test support, and then we're going to come back down. Or, I'm sorry, test the old resistance that we broke down from, and then we're going to come back down. Now we're going to retest our support, and then we'll have to see what happens from there. But, you know, I don't think this looks good. I think this looks really bad for the market. I think this basically is you know, confirmation in a bad way. If you look at the TJD Jewel Thief, you'll see we basically got the negative cross, and now we're coming down here, and I suspect what's going to happen next is the knife is going to come out here with a powerful move, and we'll see some continuation and probably a dump back down to this range right here. I would imagine around the 8,000 range is going to get tested, but at least the 618 of this move, at least 85.37 is going to get tested at this point in time. If we lose this parabolic SAR on the 4-hour and we lose this 200 moving average, oh, that also lines up perfectly with the 0.5 of this whole move. So the 0.5 and the 618. So, you know, that whole time we were testing the 0.5 as resistance. So now we come back down, test it as support. If it holds as support, maybe we get that swing and we can move back to the upside and start this parabolic trend. But as far as I'm concerned right now, you know, it's continuation downside. And you'll see the TJD, TD, MACD, you know, as soon as we got two reds over here, that was our sell signal. As soon as we close this candle right there, and you'll see we basically just started dumping after that. We're going to come down here eventually. We'll probably get some kind of bounce, find a little support. When we hit that line down here, we usually get some kind of resistance or support, depending on, you know, if it's above or below us. But that's probably going to line in, you know, that's probably going to line up with something else. But at this point in time, I would imagine what's going to happen is we're going to come down here and retest. We don't necessarily have to lose the slope on this, but because we've been consolidating in this range for a while, it's easy for it to flip back and forth between, you know, red and blue. Essentially, we're just looking for it to break the range at this point in time. But now, like we were saying, we're here at the top of the range, so there's a lot of potential that it could move down here. I mean, we could come back down to the 7,300 range without invalidating anything. But I imagine we'll find a lot of support on this diagonal green line coming up here. So, you know, if we come down here, we test this 618, we move around a little bit, we get a push down and it gets rejected, and then we could potentially get our continuation back up to test the top of the range, or, you know, continuation to the upside. But at this point in time, I think this makes the market look extremely weak, especially the fact that, you know, we basically shot up. We basically shot back up right in between the 10 and the 21, which was like essentially, you know, defense of that area. And then the first thing we did, you know, that was the last couple hours of the weekly close. And now the first thing we did leading into the week, you know, not even a few hours into the weekly candle open, you know, we're selling off violently. We're continuing the parabolic SAR move to the downside on the weekly. The jewel did give a buy signal. Purple is still coming down violently. Strong slope to the downside. The blue is bouncing up, but a lot of times in this area you'll see the blue will come up, hit the purple, get rejected. So, you know, we can't just assume it's going to cross right back over and we're going to get an uptrend. And like we were talking about a few weeks ago, we are now officially below the blue line on the TJD, TD, MACD. So what that means now is typically once you're below the line's going to start leveling back out, and then we're going to lose that slope and it's going to turn red, and then we'll be confirming on a weekly that we're in a downtrend. But just the fact that we're below this is a bad sign. We don't want to be below. So, and that's on the longer time frames, but I mean, if you go to the monthly, it's still going to look good for now. Monthly's looking good, although again, we've been consolidating for so long, you know, we're getting dangerously close to potentially losing the slope on this. And again here, same thing. And then as far as moving averages are concerned on the monthly, we came down, we tested the 21. We got a nice bounce back up. So if we're going to come back down and test the 10, that's going to put us at 8,300. If we're going to test the 21 again, that's going to put us at 7,500. And if those don't hold, you know, it's reasonable to think we'd be testing the 50. And depending how long that takes, that's like 5,500 range. So, but that's still a ways out. You know, we're definitely getting ahead of ourselves here. But as far as like the 4 hours concerned, we're now below all the major moving averages. We're right back where we started at. And I think the most likely thing that's going to happen here is we're going to come down now and we're going to test the 200 simple. And the 200 simple is coming in at 86.75. So I think we're going to come right back down and look at that. It's going to line up perfectly and give us a retest of the low, because the low previously when we came down was right there at like the 86.75 range. And that's why I like binary pivots and the PSAR here and put them all together, because that essentially establishes the zone for you. You don't have to kill your eyes looking at it. You can just see where that zone's at, and then you can see the trend without even having to think about it. You know, obviously you see all the red, you think bad, downtrend, bearish. You see all the green and the blue, you think uptrend, bullish. So, you know, that's what it's all about. Just keep it simple for you and let your brain just recognize simple patterns and colors and things like that. So you can just glance at a chart very short amount of time and get the information you need, you know, to know, okay, do I need to dive a little deeper and take a look at a different time frame, take a better look at it, etc. So, well, there we have it, guys. I just wanted to touch a little base there and talk about the move we had. Lots of volatility in the market. I do apologize. My allergies have been killing me lately. But I do appreciate all the love lately. I appreciate all the support. If you got any questions, you want to see any particular assets, or have questions about indicators or trading strategies, please leave them down below. Thanks a lot for tuning in. That's Bitcoin on our Bitfinex chart, looking at the longer time frames. And I'm Crypto Trend Trader signing off.